Hi, Scott. ROCKFILE back with another podcast review. Going to talk about 2022's film, The Artifice Girl. This 2022 film was written and directed by Franklin Rich. I had to look him up. He's known as an independent filmmaker who comes up with bold ideas and interesting concepts. And he did. Tatum Matthews stars, also Cinda Nichols, David Gerard, Franklin Rich, and Lance Henriksen has a small role in the final third of the film. This movie blew me away, and if you don't want to know anything about it, turn this off and go watch it immediately. It is one of the best movies I've watched in a while because it is a dialogue-driven movie that kept me on the edge of my seat, and I can't tell you how many of those there are on the planet. There's very little action. There's no laser guns. There's no explosions. There's like one punch is thrown in the entire film. There's not a whole lot of action in this film. But I looked down at my watch and I'm like, this has only been on 30 minutes and I am riveted. At the first third of the film, there is a huge plot twist. At the second third of the film, there is a huge plot twist. And those are basically leading into the next chapter. The film is divided up into 3 chapters. It was released to streaming services back in 2022. The only Blu-ray I could find was in Germany. It was very expensive to import, so I just bought a copy on Fandango at home. By the way, which is pretty good. It had no problems showing the whole 90-minute film. It looked great, sounded great. But this is not a movie that you're watching for, the cinematography or the sound effects. It is one of the most incredibly well-written films I have seen in a long time, if not ever. Interesting idea. I don't want to tell you too much about it. You have to watch the film. It was picked up to be produced by Aaron B. Kuntz, who did Shelby Oaks with Chris Stuckman, which I also just watched. The main reason I picked this up and watched it on streaming service, which I don't do that very often if you know me at all, because it keeps popping up on lists of movies that you haven't seen that you need to see. So I had some time and was like, you know what? I don't know anything about that. I haven't read any spoilers. Let me just buy it and watch it right now. And I had $10 sitting in PayPal, so why not? You could rent it. It's also available on streaming services like Tubi. It is at like 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I'm not the only one talking about it. I will tell you a little bit about the beginning now that we're kind of into the review, but I'm not going to give you any spoilers. The gist of the movie, it opens up. We have a guy that's been picked up by FBI or somebody like that, and he's being asked questions, and you really don't know who he is or who they are. They talk about how they're official and how they've been watching him, but what comes out of the conversation leads you down a twisty, turny path that you think one thing 1 minute, you think another thing another minute, and then when you find out what's really going on, boom, that's the end of a chapter. Then the next chapter deals with a whole new ball of wax on the same topic years later. And then the final third of the film jumps even years later to give us a final take on this entire subject. And I would love to tell you more about it. But again, this is a movie that the surprises will blow your mind. You need to watch the film. The gist of it, to get a little spoiler territory, is that somebody has created an AI program to go after child predators. And that's a very, very topical thing to come out. This came out 4 years ago. Not only to talk about AI, but to talk about sexual predators. And if any of those two things interest you, watch this film. Because I was really blown away with the ideas, with where it took the story, and what it's trying to say about the future. It's fascinating. I mean, it was just a dialogue-driven film that 30 minutes in, I was on the edge of my seat. I wanted to see what was going to happen next, hear what they were going to say next, because I couldn't guess. And by the end of it, it was wow. There have been 1 or 2 other movies in recent memory that kind of strike the same ending, so to speak, but this did it a different way. I think the writing is on par. The acting is incredible. And honestly, since the first third of the movie takes place in one room, the cinematography is surprisingly good because you're never bored of this film. I guess some people might be, but I thought it was so well acted and so well written. I was hanging on every single word because you didn't know what the next words were going to take you, where it was going to take you, what kind of twist was going to happen. Like I said, the acting is great. That the director was actually in the movie, and I didn't know that till after the movie. That's pretty amazing. And I thought everybody was in it, and it's wonderful to see Lance Henriksen in something. The movie deals with a whole bunch of big science fiction ideas and big psychological ideas, takes some big swings, and I think it pretty much nails them all. At the end of the film, I thought it ended how it should, and I walked away from it going, I'm going to recommend that to everybody I know. It's when you're in the mood to stream something that you don't really care if it's, bombastic or exciting. You just want to watch a good story. I would say you have to pay attention to it. It's not something to have on in the background, but it's not because you're watching for things. It's because you're listening for things. It is so well written. I'm going to seek out this guy's other movies. It turns out he's made a couple of independent features. Artifice Girl. A lot of people are recommending it. I'm another one to jump on that bandwagon. It's one of 2 streaming-only movies I've watched recently that are getting great reviews from me. I'll tell you about the next one in the next podcast. But Artifice Girl, truly the best movie I've watched in a while from a writing perspective and just getting me into the subject matter with little more than just great dialogue. That, kudos. Why can't we have more stuff that is this intelligent and this interesting? Anyway, the surprises that come at you pretty hard and fast by the end. It's a really well done movie. I can't recommend it enough. They call it dialogue driven, but by the second and third acts, it does become much more. I don't want to make you think it's all in one room for the entire movie. It moves on after the first third of the film into other areas and other things. So it gets my highest recommendation of the year, and it's been out for 3-4 years. Check out The Artifice Girl if it's on streaming services. I know Tubi and a few other places have it, or you can purchase it or rent it on Fandango at home, which is how I watched it. Great film, all in all. Like the music as well. I thought, not bad. I think the whole thing was just one of the best films I've watched lately, so check it out. The Artifice Girl is available now. Scott, I'm ROCKFILE. More podcasts on the way. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a spectacular day.